This is your first time visiting. My name is Tina Hurley. I am the CEO of Less Leg, More Heart, which is a nonprofit that helps people with amputations by providing vital support supplies and services to improve their quality of life. And we're here today to talk to you about an amazing wellness sort of topic. That's what this platform is about inspiring and providing perspective, and also bringing to you vetted goods and services and wellness offerings that you can look into. And I was really curious about hypnotherapy. Don't know a lot about it. I've heard people that have been raving about it, and I thought it would be excellent to bring somebody who is a subject matter expert in it to you at the comfort of your own home. So without further ado, welcome to my friend Bruce.
Thank you, Tina, for having me.
Bruce, I want to know how you got into this. And I think that the first place to start is how we met. So you can tell folks, Bruce has seen my left foot. No one on this show has ever seen my left foot. But I met Bruce in a CrossFit gym 10 probably plus years ago.
Might even be more than that.
Yeah, in a local CrossFit gym. He and his wife went and worked out there, and all of a sudden the whole journey of my leg happened, and sort of didn't keep touch until, thank goodness for social media and LinkedIn, and we reconnected, and I saw that you're now like this expert in hypnotherapy and learning this for your life and offering these skills for other people. And so that's sort of how we reconnected, and just what a small world. But in your process from who you were then to what you're doing now, can you walk folks through that journey?
Yeah, sure. It's interesting, right? I guess if I start way back, I'll just say that, I remember picking up a book back in high school on hypnotherapy, and trying with my sister in the living room, believe it or not. So, yeah. And it was a lot different back then because, now with YouTube, you can see how things are done, what should happen. And back then you'd read how it worked out, and you're just like, is it working? I don't know. And my sister would be like, yeah. So,
yeah.
But so totally. It's so that was kind of my first foray. Kind of went back and forth in there, and then I kind of just put it aside for a while.
Adulting, right?
Adulting.
Life
imagine
makes
that.
you pay bills and do all these things sometimes you don't want to have to do, but
yeah,
I get
exactly.
it. And now you're pursuing your passion again by looking back into it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It kind of continued on with my wife. Basically went through a hard point in her life, and
I can relate.
Yeah, exactly. So she'd kind of gone through the general normal stuff, and I wasn't working for her. And so I'm one of those guys that I guess a lot of guys maybe are kind of fixers, right?
Yeah.
And she knew that she needed to find another way to help her. And so I researched the heck out of stuff, and so basically it ended up where, I kind of discovered that, or kept researching, learning, and then doing, and then, finding that it had an amazing impact on her.
The story that you learned this skill to aid like one of your closest loved ones is so powerful, because the why behind what you're doing is like really clear, right? Like, that doesn't get more pure. And I think that anybody that practices any type of wellness-based service really has to have that like love-centric, giving, like healing kind of core. So that's really beautiful. And so she has, of course, I'm assuming benefited from it, which is why you're doing more of it. What do you find, and you don't have to get into it specifically with your wife, but what do you find hypnotherapy to be largely most beneficial for? Most of the folks that might have heard about it before, and myself too, because I'm naive to it. Addictions you hear about, right? You hear about pain sometimes, or but really the thing that comes to mind, and I think it's because of a lot of the ads that were pushed, was like smoking cessation. But I'm sure there's quite a few other things that it's applicable for. What are some of those?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting because people often think about the smoking cessation and the weight stuff, and honestly, that can be very difficult. It's not the best use of hypnosis.
Okay.
There are ways to use it really well, but you have to find the right person to do that with. But stuff that, as you mentioned, that it does work really well is chronic pain in general. And basically, getting people through tough times, or even, it's funny, somebody actually I've been working with just wanted help kind of organizing their thoughts and their memories so they could recall things better.
Wow.
And they've come back to me quite a bit, 3 or 4 times, just saying, this is working great. Can we keep doing this? So the gambit's pretty big. A lot of it is all about what your mind believes, and hypnosis can kind of help you get there to what you're looking for.
Interesting. Is it by way of changing narrative, internal dialogue, or how would you describe sort of, in a nutshell, for the viewers that may not have a complex understanding of neurophysiology or, a lot of the things I'm sure you're versed in, what's sort of the basic explanation of how it works?
Yeah, so a lot of people think about the stage hypnotist, right? Like the chickens, making someone cluck like a chicken
I've
or
gone to
bark
those
like a
comedy
dog.
shows.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly. But that's not really, it's kind of deceiving to people. Oh, someone's being controlled. It's not really like that. Actually, the reality is a person can't really mind control anybody. Hypnosis is a way of putting someone in a relaxed state that allows them to really focus in on things. And basically, the hypnotist is a guide for what they're looking to achieve as an outcome. And this focus is so intense that the person can, zero in on exactly, like I said, it's almost like a guided session, right? And as a hypnotist, I'll find out what your beliefs are, and how you feel about a subject that you're coming for help. Because I can't change your beliefs, so I have to work with your beliefs. And so I work with the person to kind of get those details. And then as we go through the hypnosis session, I kind of create that belief structure that's already inside you and allow you to focus on what that topic is to get you through.
Wow, that's so powerful. When you look at hypnosis versus like meditation, is it sort of synonymous? Is it different? How can people view the two?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, there's actually a lot of cases where there's lots of different kinds of meditation, but you can be in a very high focus sense of meditation, where you're focusing on things, and really be borderline in a hypnosis trance. It's something that everybody can do pretty easily, and self-hypnosis is not a big jump. It's just kind of bringing in the resources that you have within you and kind of setting what you want ahead of time, where meditation can kind of be focusing on being calm or being in the moment or whatever it is. But hypnosis, you're saying ahead of time, I want to activate these resources in my body kind of through my subconscious to get an outcome.
Like, so more, maybe a more set intention.
Exactly.
When you're starting? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So what types of things do people look for when selecting a hypnosis? I mean, or a hypnotist. You were saying in the beginning, like, you kind of have to find the right person. How would somebody know if they're not with the right person? Or maybe how would they figure out, is it, we've all been to therapists, and, there's fits, and so it might be stylistic, or are there other things that should be on people's radar with those kinds of fits?
Yeah, I think like anything, there should be a good meeting with the hypnotist, kind of find out their background and try to get some of those, those referrals from them just to see how other people think of them. And when was the last time they worked on somebody? Because there are actually a lot of hypnotists out there that don't do it a lot. It's kind of like random. And then there's also, it's also a good idea, I should point this out now, to bring up with your doctor or whoever, let them know that you're going to be working with a hypnotist, just so that way they're aware of what's going on. Yeah.
Is that because there's any potential poor outcomes, or?
So hypnosis doesn't have really any major side effects, but with anything, you don't want to get in the way of a doctor's treatment, and so
Got it.
you know.
How are you finding, and you can plead the fifth, but how are you finding that the Western world takes to those announcements by patients? Because I've worked in the field, and I know that holistic means of therapy are oftentimes understood and perhaps viewed in different ways. Do you have any stories, and if you don't, you don't, but do you have any stories of folks that may have talked to their doctors and they were surprised by how lacking in support it seemed to be? And yeah,
So you do find, right, that for some doctors, it's like, hey, you know what, this guy's gonna hypnotize you out of $1,000, or something, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is, hypnosis has been around for quite some time. They actually used to do anesthesia before ether came around to actually do amputations. So it's not nothing new, right? And in fact, it's quite common. But yeah, you're right. There is a few doctors out there that just say, just stay away from this and just.
It's so sad because, I mean, the same is true sometimes of chiropractic work and and these other lines of therapy that can be shown to be significantly beneficial to people and their pain and their daily life and their mental anguish. And you said there's no real bad outcomes. And so it's like, if something isn't going to hurt somebody and it has the opportunity to help somebody, but it may not be, p less than 0.005 statistically significant in a medical article that was sort of funded by, I think that's the greater topic I kind of wanted to just mention to folks that could be viewing this is, in the event that you were to say, I am going to be getting hypnotherapy or any of these other wellness things to a clinician, it's great that you're disclosing it, but don't necessarily let the opinions of wellness-based practices exclude opportunities for you if you've weighed the personal risks and benefits for you in your life.
Yeah, I like the way how you put that. And the good thing to remember here too is that a person can go on Google Scholar and there's tons and tons of research. Hypnosis is not something magical. It's a real thing that people go through every single day. I mean, for example, you drive your car, you don't know how you got from here to here.
I get that all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe you stay up. There's really.
Keep going. What would you think?
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that, basically the hypnotist is talking to the subconscious, right? It's responsible for protection and pleasure. And so the idea is, of course, you can talk to it. And the really interesting thing is, what keeps you up at night? Why can't you sleep tonight? That's your subconscious trying to protect you. Like, oh, I've got something going on tomorrow, and it's something I should worry about.
Yeah, or I did something earlier, and I didn't love the outcome, and I can't fix it now, so I'm going to ruminate on it.
Exactly, right? And so, so I guess what I'm trying to say is ultimately, hypnosis is natural. There's plenty of studies, and there are a lot of good psychologists that really use it.
Amazing. When you practice, or as you're growing things, what are some of the upcoming things folks could look forward to learning more about? I know that there might be a group-based opportunity, but I wanted you to share some of the possible opportunities if folks may be interested in what you have coming up.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, so in November I'm actually starting a class. It's a kind of a trial thing for me. It'll be online. It's going to be basically 3 days. So I'm also certified in certain kinds of meditation.
Oh, nice.
And meditations and hypnosis actually work really well together, where I find that the hypnosis can help you get that kickstart into what you need or want. And then the meditation and even self-hypnosis can help kind of give yourself that daily maintenance, if you will.
Okay.
So so my idea is that in November, basically, I'm going to have a class 3 times a week. Monday and Wednesday will basically be meditations, and then Friday will be group hypnosis. So, yeah.
So is it a remote opportunity?
Yeah, this will all be via Zoom, and that way anybody anywhere can access this from the comfort of their own home.
That's helpful.
And I think it's going to be great. So if anybody wants to try it, definitely.
Where would they go to find that information?
Yeah, so I do a lot of my posting right now is on Instagram, Silent Summit, and website's coming up, silentsummit.com.
Okay.
And they can find a lot of details there.
Yeah, so Silent Summit on Instagram. And you brought up a great point too about frequency. So if somebody were to set this intention, they wanted to be well or clear or in any of these ways feel better, less pain, when they set that intention, is it like, and I hate to provide the analogy again to chiropractic, but it's I recently got adjusted, so I think it's online. But you have your acute phase where there's a little bit more frequency or perhaps intensity or perhaps even soreness in that first period of time that you give a few more days for, and then you get into your maintenance phase. Is hypnotherapy prescribed in a similar way, or is it in an alternate way?
So one of the interesting things is there are some people that are more accepting to the suggestion than others. And so some people, almost literally on the first visit, they will find themselves free of, if we're dealing with pain, free of pain.
Wow.
Even phobias, it's usually a one-time visit. But there are other times where basically you're trying to, it'll take 3 or 4 visits, so that way you can kind of get the suggestion to settle inside the person's mind. Mm-hmm. You talk about it a lot, but the words are kind of like spells of the mind, right? You can't tell what's truth and what's a lie. Mm. So sometimes a hypnotist will get a person to come out of a session feeling great. And then what will happen is they'll go to back home and someone will say, I can't believe that hypnosis worked, or a doctor will say, that's funny, you should still have pain. And all of a sudden, all that work that the person's just gone through suddenly goes away. Really? All right, so yeah, sometimes if you do that 3 or 4, sessions, it kind of helps implant that, and your mind starts to believe and keep working on it, and it's really, that's how it goes. It's all about your own mind.
You bring up a really fascinating comment, and it makes me think about nature versus nurture. And it makes me think about innately we believe pain, this experience is it's physiologic in some sense. You've got your posterior dorsal column, and there's all these afferent and efferent nerve endings, and you can keep going down that rabbit hole. But there's this thing that's happening physiologically. But then there's the mental piece of pain that is like high alert and providing like a biofeedback, like a positive loop, right, that keeps like intensifying. Or if you concentrate on something, that's why they distract you when they pierce your ears, or those kinds of things. And knowing what chronic pain is like. And actually, this is Pain Awareness Month, September, and we talk a lot about it with the organization, and we have a lot of support for our amputees because of it. And it's a huge topic, and everybody, 99% of the folks that we talk with on a day-to-day basis are in significant pain, and they are desperate to try other things. But when you talk about the nature versus nurture aspect and having other influences in your life that could potentiate the narratives and the heightened alert that you have to the pain and how that can kick you out of some of the work that other therapies do, I think that that's a really important piece of life in general, right? Like, you are like the 5 people that you spend the most time with kind of concept. But when folks are going through it's almost like a rehab, right? It is the way that I view it. It's like you're rehabbing a certain thing out of yourself, or rehabbing yourself to a better point, and you have to try to protect yourself and be in alignment in the other sources around you so that you can optimize that kind of treatment. I mean, that was just, I don't know, so striking for me when you mentioned it. When someone has that, do you have to start back at the more frequent? I know it's such a specific, like, case-to-case basis, but how do you manage that? Is there coaching involved with that person on how to mute out what's being said, or lessen the significance of the opinions or comments of others? Like, is any of that built into subconscious work to improve sort of the barriers people have, or the skin thickness?
Yeah, you're right. It is subjective from person to person, but which brings back up this meditation and self-hypnosis piece, right? Generally, a lot of people that I work with, I'll say, okay, you've done really well today. This is working great. And but here, I'm going to make a little DVD for you, or DVD, CD,
that
or
shows our age, doesn't it?
Right. But I'll send them a digital thing home, basically to kind of reinforce. And so, before they go to bed at night, or if they get up in the morning, kind of something to keep that belief going. You got to keep hearing it, right? What the mind hears, it believes. And so, so that part of that maintenance piece that I kind of mentioned, that's what it's all about. In between these sessions, until you decide, you're good to go, you can keep listening to these things, meditating on how things are working for you, and keep building that belief system up in yourself.
Yeah, I've lived this. It was like I had my leg amputated, and then my husband had left. And if you had 2 signs over your head that described the way that you felt and the way that you felt the society felt about you, it was honestly like disfigured and unlovable. That was my story.
Wow.
That was how I identified. It was horrendous. And the only difference between then and now is the way that I've been able to master the way that I think of myself and the way that I think of my circumstance. It was literally thought that has changed and pivoted the entire direction of my life and the quality of my life. And inherently, the victimization and the pain and the opportunities that come. I mean, I just gave myself chills. I'm such a cornball.
I was going to say, this is great. Like, you're a living example.
Really?
I mean, really, you own your own self-hypnosis in a lot of ways. You've gotten yourself to, that's just great.
You convince yourself, there's all these cliche statements that sound cliche until you learn, like, the power of them, like, fake it till you make it. Like, wow, that's really true. You really do and can become on a moment-to-moment basis, like, you can change who you are, the way that you are. There's a wonderful book, and I'm sure you know about it, Caroline Dwight wrote, Mindset, and it's about fixed versus growth mindsets and the concepts contained in them, and just like the difference in certain scenarios about a person that's a fixed mindset versus the way that a growth mindset would talk internally to themselves about the opportunity, and the difference in outcomes that difference in perception and utilization of that time. It's so powerful, and I'm really excited that I haven't really uncovered this tool. I'm going to have to jump into the group class, because I can't imagine something more powerful than the opportunity to control your thoughts and to control your reactions. I mean, I don't think that we as humans, especially in the US, take time enough to sit with ourselves and to give that energy to ourselves that we give outwardly to everybody else. And I think as a result, we're sick and we're tired and we're self-medicated and we're depressed and all these things as a result of our lack of love and time and effort. Would you agree with that?
100%.
Yeah.
100% right on. And again, probably because of the whole meditation classes and certifications that I've gotten, one of the things that you realize is that a person is very into their phone these days, right? And that's almost a trance in itself, and you see negative news, that kind of goes into you. And so, when you do this kind of other maintenance piece, where we'll call it meditation or self-hypnosis, it breaks away from that and allows you to get that thought back on yourself and allow you to realize what's truly important rather than what's not important.
I know, technology is wonderful, but we're definitely going in the wrong direction with it health-wise. And so grounding and meditating and hypnosis are wonderful tools. When someone takes a class or has a session, consult, or a follow-up session with hypnotherapy, are there time domains that are like most effective or that you used? What people meditate and you can go on, your Insight timer and do a 3-minute or like a 30-minute, and it can be guided or not guided. Like, what offerings are there in the services that you offer, time domain wise?
Yeah, I'm definitely happy to work with anybody. Generally, when you do meditation, you first start, it's a little more difficult to do long meditations. It's good to start off kind of slow, but I also think that, for me, when you first start in a class group, no more than 30 minutes, which is a good kind of start. And if you have to stop early, that's fine, right? It's okay to be okay with yourself. That's the whole point of this. But when you get to the hypnosis part, usually the first session is about an hour, because we're going to have a dialogue. Again, it's about me learning about you, and then going through the hypnosis piece. And after that, it could be anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a really reasonable time. It's like any other kind of therapy that somebody would do for themselves, or a yoga class, or
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I know that we only have a few minutes left, and I wanted to give you the opportunity on the spot. Are there any stories that you have from either being a student kind of learning this, or in someone that you've helped treat? Or I know that you had sort of stories about phantom limb pain, and you had told me something specific about a person that you had learned under or learned from. I just wanted to give you opportunity to kind of share some of the really interesting things that you've shared with me before the segment.
Yeah, no problem. So there's a doctor, not a doctor, he's a nurse. He was a nurse officer in the Navy. Back in the 1970s, he joined up. And his name is Ron Esslinger. And he actually started off as a nurse, and then while he was there, he got certified in hypnosis. And so he was helping people through dental surgeries and through surgeries in general, and helping people that are in trauma. Sometimes people come in a trauma situation, and for whatever reason, he would be the first person there and helping getting through that. And so he still teaches today, believe it or not. He's in his 70s. Wow. And he has a practice down in South Carolina, I believe, but he comes up to Boston once a year and he gives this class on actually phantom limb pain. Yeah. And really cool, because he explained a lot to me, and he said he'd gone through quite a bit while he was in the military dealing with phantom limb pain. Yeah,
a lot of traumatic amputations I bet he's seen.
Yeah, and he's, definitely, the thing is, almost everybody finds some sort of relief. A lot of people find a lot of relief, and there are some people that are completely relieved of pain. So pretty amazing stuff.
Wow, that is, incredible. I can't wait for you to work with some of the amputees in our program further. And there's just so much room for folks that have an incredible why, that are practicing non-invasive, non-pharmacologic means of wellness. I think that really is what's going to get us to a better place as a society. But sometimes it takes a little bit more time, and sometimes it's a little bit more out of pocket. And it's like there are these inherent built-in barriers to people taking sort of better care or having better options. And I can relate to some of those barriers, right? So what is the typical cost for hypnotherapy sessions? Like, give it a range, not necessarily of your own pricing, but is it in alignment with like a specialty massage, or like what would you compare pricing for hypnotherapy with? And is it an insurance-based thing?
Yeah, so there are some insurance-based stuff that you can do. That part definitely requires working with a doctor and them basically prescribing hypnotherapy.
Okay.
But generally, the average session is anywhere from about 125 to 150 an hour. And then basically, sometimes, like I said, it can be done in one session, but it really depends on what it is. A lot of stuff, to be fair, it could be 3 or 4 sessions.
Yeah, sure, but that's a really, really affordable price for something that's possible to ameliorate the symptoms that you're coming in with, or at least set you on a path where you can start, like you said, doing your own self-hypnotherapy. You're not just doing something with them, like you're teaching skills that they also can do it themselves.
That's my main goal, is that, I want to get them on a path of wellness, and then give them the skills and the tools to carry that on their own.
Amazing. Well, I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you for helping just the community and your wife, and for pursuing this. So many people need it. And if you guys are watching and you're interested, definitely check out Silence Summit. And of course, if you have questions, you can reach out to Less Leg, More Heart. But Bruce, I hope to talk with you more, and I can't wait for an upcoming class with you.
Awesome.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Till next time, guys, make sure to put your best foot forward.